Great news, small victory for the Freedom Convoy. Now Alberta has decided to ditch vaccine passports. Thank God. Finally, that is done with in Alberta. They removed that as of midnight yesterday, and it is now no more proof of vaccination required. Big fucking victory. Then starting on Monday, no more masks for students. Nobody under the age of 12 has to wear masks anywhere. And then by the end of the month, by the beginning of March, there should be no more restrictions put in place whatsoever. So when we take a look at this article, Jason Kenney has actually gone ahead and ditched the proof of vaccination program. I believe they said as of midnight Tuesday. Let's see here. Alberta's highly controversial proof of vaccination system expires as the clock strikes midnight Wednesday, so yesterday. Premier Jason Kenney announced Tuesday amid accusations that he was playing politics with public health measures, which, in fairness, majority of them have been, so I guess once you're called out, it's time to change the narrative for yourself. So rules that require students to wear masks in Alberta schools will end on Monday, and children under 12 won't have to wear masks anywhere starting then, which is fantastic. It's a step in the right direction. Kenney said his careful and prudent plan, which was approved by Alberta's COVID Cabinet Committee, lays out a path to move on from widespread pandemic response to get our lives back to normal. Restrictions have done the job of getting more people vaccinated, but Kenney said those increases have now stopped. The problem with that is he's still trying to portray it in a light where it was good for everybody to be forced to get vaccinated, where it was a good thing for it to have happened, but he's not apologizing for the fact that he had to force so many people out through coercion to get it done, which is a problem, because even before the coercion and the mandates, it was still around 80% of people still did it. It's that additional 10% that he needs to apologize for, because it was 10% extra that was being coerced into doing it. And that's a problem. The Premier talked about how pandemic rules have inflamed disputes among Albertans and disrupted and even destroyed livelihoods. We've been saying that for at least a year and a half now. I'm pretty sure almost everybody that was looking into this and realizing what was going on have been questioning this for about a year and a half, maybe a little bit longer at this point. We'll never be able to do a full accounting of the extent of the pain and hardship that restrictions have caused, Kenney said. It's the smartest thing I have seen any Liberal say other than Lightbound and Robillard. Both of them are actually quite smart as well because they are waking up. This person, however, has taken the steps to ensure that he's showing his awakening, but he's still putting a little bit of liberal paint over it, you know what I mean? We cannot remain at a heightened state of emergency forever. We have to begin to heal, and so Alberta will move on. But we'll do so carefully. We'll do so prudently. We will do so only if it does not threaten the capacity of our healthcare system. This is a problem, though, because at any drop of the dime between now and March 1st, he can just come out and say, there's a problem with the healthcare system, we have to keep the mandates. I see this more as a way of silencing protesters to keep them at bay or to make him feel appeased because he's afraid of what might happen if Alberta decides to start protesting there even more heavily than they are already. So what else was there? There was also a point that he made here. A provincial work from home order will expire on March 1st, along with the provincial mask mandate and capacity limits for all venues. All limits on social gatherings and cohorting rules in schools will be removed at the same time. The province still has not determined a date for removing COVID-19 rules and continuing care homes, and it's still not decided when mandatory isolation requirements will become recommendations only. But here's the problem. Why do you need these recommended isolations if none of it is being mandated anymore? This is kind of conflicting in a way. Like, I understand the care homes, why they would do that. There's a lot of at-risk people there. Fine. Makes sense. Understandable. That's one of those places where I could be like, yeah, wear a mask. Make sure that you're not leaving if you feel sick. Stuff like that. But what is with the mandatory isolation requirements still being a thing? Like, I know if you're sick, stay home, but why would they be mandatory? I don't understand that part. Doesn't that still mean there's a mandate in play? Is that the one part of the mandate that's not being removed, but everything else is going forward? Is it still going to be the same thing where everybody else can live their lives, but as long as you're sick, stay home? In which case, I'm kind of okay with that, but how much will they abuse that? That's a question I have. So ever since this was announced, There have been some pushback from some of the Edmonton mayors. I believe, let's see here. Yes, Amadrit Sohi was one of the mayors that decided to speak out on this. He has a lot of concerns in terms of the COVID-19 mandate removal, and his response is essentially Edmonton is contemplating its own COVID-19 public health measures, including a vaccine passport. So if Jason Kenney removes his, which he already has, they're going to implement their own. And it will only be for that municipality, which seems over the top. Now we're going to become so divisive that depending on which city you're in, you're going to have to either live like a communist or live freely. That seems like a stretch. That seems like a very strange thing. But one thing that he also mentioned here is the Edmonton mayor said Alberta's COVID-19 measures were effective and blamed the United Conservative Party for putting City Council in a position where it is compelled to consider acting on its own. No, Justin Trudeau has made it so you have to consider acting on your own because you want to appease him because he doesn't want to remove the restrictions, and you want to appease your base because you want to keep that paycheck. So that's a problem. And Edmonton City Councillors on Wednesday instructed bureaucrats to explore options and implications of a municipal vaccine pass and local screening program for COVID-19 symptoms at public and private facilities. Calgary's municipal politicians defeated a mirroring motion, but like those in Edmonton, approved a plan to request Alberta provide the recommendations and data that informed its decision. So now they're trying to say that Jason Kenney jumped the gun. They want to see what kind of information he has that justifies his removal of these mandates. I hate to tell you this, Sohi, but it's a one quick Google search away. I mean, you just have to make the request and you can easily get the BC hospitalizations, the Alberta hospitalization reports through the Freedom of Information Act. And you'd see that there's no trending upward motion. It was just a different categorization of what they were saying people were sick with inside the hospital. If you had cancer and you had COVID at the same time, you were listed as a COVID patient. If you were in the ICU because you were in a car accident and you happened to have COVID, you were labeled as a COVID patient in the ICU. That is just proof. They didn't change the amount of people going to the hospital. They changed the way they labeled them going to the hospital. And then when people realized there wasn't actually too much of an ICU overflow, they got rid of the people that didn't want to get vaccines as nurses or doctors. They gave themselves this influx of patients when in reality all they did was cut their staff, and now they're overwhelmed. This was all a play in the making by Justin Trudeau, and it's been proven. Like, you can see the transition. You can see all the news articles. They're all there. It's mind-blowing when people act like there's not enough proof behind everything that's happening, and there is. That's the ridiculous part. Alberta and Saskatchewan on Tuesday unveiled plans to quickly end pandemic restrictions, a policy shift that came under heavy criticism from teachers, big city mayors, Indigenous leaders, healthcare workers, and some businesses. I don't remember seeing too much uproar in this, and I would have seen it. I would have been on Twitter. The only ones I've seen in any kind of tiffy about this is literally the leaders of the liberal side of things, and it's really sad. Like, the small businesses, they don't give a fuck if you remove mandates. If anything, they'll thrive because of it. No small business is going to look at you and be like, yeah, govern me harder, daddy. No, they want less governing because this has ruined so many people's lives. It's crushed so many small businesses. All it's done is make corporations way richer than they ever should have been. And it's a problem. It's a problem that nobody seems to be questioning, especially these news articles like the Globe and Mail, or in this case, which one was this one? Edmonton.ctv.ca. Like, they're mainstream media, and yet they're still pushing the narrative that people are concerned about this. Sure, there's a handful. I could probably go outside and find somebody in the thousands of people that live near me. But I'll tell you this, everybody I have met and the hundreds, if not thousands of people I've met during COVID while I was working, all of them hate these mandates. Not a single one of them is for them. Not a single person I've ever met is sitting there going, yes, I would like you to have full control over my life. Thank you, Justin Trudeau. Nobody's saying that. It is what the media is telling you, but it's not what's really happening. So I got to give kudos to Alberta because they took the first steps. Whether or not this has a different motivation behind it, the way I see it, it is still a victory for the truckers. And it's something that we should be very proud of for them. Because even though it's not a full removal yet, the idea that the removal will be coming is big. Now the question is, if the protesters stop, will this change stop? I guess it's only going to be time to find out. That's it. we just have to wait and see. We have to wait and see if more people are going to follow in the footsteps of Jason Kenney, or if more people are going to want to get the whips from Trudeau. But I have high hopes. I have a lot of hope for Canada, because Canada's tired and the world is watching, and they're getting a very good view of what our government's like and why Canadians were so ashamed to be Canadian until now. I know I was, and now I've never felt more proud. Anyways, guys, I will hopefully see you in another video where I talk a little bit more about Saskatchewan. But until then, I love you all. Subscribe if you want to, because there's going to be a lot more videos. And if you like the video, like it. If you don't, dislike it. And if you want to have a conversation, leave a comment. I try to respond to everything. Love you guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.